Okay, so the next step, we're going to start the transform, and we really need to do something about these dates before we do anything else. So we've got some dates coming through as Excel dates, so a number, and some coming through as text values in this format, so kind of US format, month, day, year, no trailing zeros. So we've got a bit of a mess to clear up here. Now, in real life, I've already taken a little eyeball of this, and one of the things I've noticed, and I have checked that it's universally true, pattern recognition, by the way, is an absolute superpower for a data analyst. You want to hone that, hone that, hone that. The quicker and better you are at spotting patterns, the more successful you're going to be as in terms of not career-wise. I promise you on that, not career-wise, but in terms of actually being able to get stuff done. That is a superpower. So I've noticed that dates where the day is 13, the 13th or greater, are coming through as these text dates. Where the day is the 12th or earlier, they're coming through as Excel dates. So that tells me there's something funny that's gone on upstream. If we go back to our diagram here, it's unlikely to be something within the sales system. It's probably something to do with the way the data was extracted from there. That's just led to those two different date formats. If we can fix that upstream, that saves us a lot of untangling of spaghetti here. But let's assume that we can't, and let's just work with what we've got. So we've got Excel dates that are numbers stored as text right now, and we've got text dates that are in this kind of format. We're going to need some logic to untangle them. So the first thing is that we're going to have to deal with them each separately. The same method is not going to work for each. So, by the way, solving problems with logic is the skill here. SQL is secondary. Whatever language or tool you're using is a secondary thing to the ability to think your way through and solve a problem logically. If you can do that, you can learn any language, any tool, and it almost becomes trivial. If you can't do that, honestly, you might want to choose another profession, because all of the theory in the world and knowing all of the SQL syntax in the world, if you can't solve problems with logic, you'll probably end up being a manager. Okay, so the logic here is if anything contains a forward slash, it's not a number, so it's going to be a text date. If it doesn't contain that forward slash, it's going to be an Excel date. If it's an Excel date, how are we going to handle those? Well, in Excel, a date is a number sequential in days, with the first of the first 1900 as 1. So 1st of January 1900 is 1, 2nd of January 1900 is 2, 3rd of January, and so on. So all we need to do is add that number of sequential days to the end of the 19th century. You actually need to add it to the 30th of December 1899, not the 31st. If you want to understand why, just Google that. If you're willing to just take it on trust, we're all good to go. But fundamentally, what we're going to do with the Excel dates is add that number, convert the text value to a number, and add that to the 30th of the 12th, 1899 in an increment of days. I've got here how to do that in different flavors of SQL. For most flavors, you'd use dateadd. I'm using Postgres, so we use interval instead. But that, honestly, that's trivial. If you can problem solve with logic, you can learn. This is what you want to achieve. Writing the code to do it is the trivial bit. So with the text dates, what I'm going to do here, depending on your settings, you might be able to just cast these as dates. Change the data type of this to date. I tried that and it didn't work. And besides, I want this to be ironclad. Might work if you've got US settings. Maybe it's the fact that I'm in the UK that it's expecting that to be, but also I'm not used to using Postgres, so I don't know what the problem is. But I'm going to solve it longhand. What I'm going to do is rearrange this text into SQL date format. So I'm going to grab the right four characters as the year, add in a hyphen. I'm going to, if that's just one thing before the forward slash, then I'm going to have a 0 and that. If not, I'm going to have, you know, the left 2. So basically I'm going to pull apart this string and fit it together in this format, adding in zeros as appropriate. And again, the SQL syntax to do that, I've had to learn a different way of doing it using Postgres because they don't have contains or mid, the two functions that I would normally use to do that. But it has been trivial because I know that's what I want to achieve and I just need to Google for the syntax to do it. So yeah, really, if you understand, I'm adding this number to this date here. I'm rearranging this text into this format and then casting that as a date. If you understand that, you're golden. The SQL is almost trivial, but here it is. I've written out something. Okay, so I've written some SQL that kind of does the logic I've described. This is a case of good enough for now. I think I can do better than this when we come to automate everything later, but this does clean the dates. So I've got CTEs here. I was going to use variables, but you can't use variables with Postgres apparently. So I've just cobbled it together with CTEs. I've got a CTE for the months and the days where I'm just looking at the position of the forward slash. I'm deciding whether I need a trailing 0 and the leftmost character or the leftmost 2 characters. And similar for day, for each orders and ship. Then this is the bit that does the logic that I described. If the position of that forward slash is 0, it's going to be an Excel date, and this logic is going to be applied, adding the number of day as an interval of days, adding that number to that date. If it's if it is greater than 0, if that does exist in position 2 or 3 in order date, then we're going to stick together all of our pieces of the date, so the year, the month, and the day, and cast the result as a date. So that should give us, let's, oh, Rose, please stop messaging me. Let's just run all this and see what we get. So if we're creating a table to put this in. We're inserting that query into the table, are we? Yes. Okay, and I thought we were selecting everything from it. Let's just run this bit. Come on, where's my results? Here we go. Okay, so we have our results here. So we've got we've got the row ID from the staging table. We've got the order date and ship date as they sit. So in this case, Excel dates. So we might just want to do a quick eyeball here. So that's 44621 should be actually, oh, this is ordered by row ID. So it should be, if we go to row ID equals 1, ship date 1st of March 2022, ship date 1st of March 2022. Okay, happy with that. Let's look at the ship date. 1st of July 2022. That took months to ship. And we have 1st of July 2022. So that looks to be working okay. Let's check a couple of our text dates. So the 13th of January 2022, 13th of January 2022, good. Let's pick another one, 18th of January 2022, 18th of January 2022. Okay, so a quick eyeball is telling me this is looking pretty good in terms of having clean dates here. Now, I'm just going to leave these in a separate table for now. As I said, I'm new to Postgres. This is not how I would normally approach this, but you know, it gets the result. So I want to come back to this later and figure out how to refine this query a bit, so that but before this is part of the cleanse process. If this is going to be running every day or even every week as part of a transformation, you know, if I wrap it up as a stored procedure and it runs every time data is imported, I want it to be as optimal as possible. Excuse me, as optimal as possible. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to paste this below so that you can use it to cleanse your dates. If you're using something other than Postgres, I'm going to leave you the challenge of figuring out something that will work, because you probably don't have, if you're using T-SQL, if you're using Microsoft SQL, I'll give you a clue and say char index is pretty much the same as position, but you might need to figure out how to use contains and mid rather than substring. But assuming you're using PostgreSQL, you can just run this and this will create your create a little clean date table here. Okay, next section, we're gonna, I think, build our first fact table. So that's quite exciting.